social media has become an integral part of modern society. Many Americans in the US use social media applications like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter on a daily basis. Many of these applications have had many benefits, such as connecting people around the world globally and becoming a place for freedom of speech. Not only have these things happened, but social media has affected the US in many ways. I'm Alejandro Luciano, and this is my presentation on social media growth. How have social media applications like TikTok affected the perceptions of real-world issues and situations in the US? My argument, same thing. TikTok and other social media applications have changed the way real-world issues and situations are perceived in the US and how information is being spread. The stimulus that best connects with my argument is the Meditations of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, Book 4, where he states, "Observe continually that all things exist and change, and keep this though ever with you, that nature loves nothing more than changing what things are now and making others like them." Although not the same, during 2020, the world had a very big hardship called COVID-19. The pandemic sent the world into distress and we had to go into lockdown. Our social lives were on a decline, but social media was on a rise. My first claim is how social media has had an effect on the political scene. With 2020 came one of the biggest elections, I'm sure we all know, Joe Biden versus Trump, where Joe Biden was able to really capitalize the use of social media. Charlotte Alter in the Click campaign explains how instead of finding people to run for his presidential election in farmers markets or school board meetings, that they are now scouring Facebook and Twitter where they can see if someone knows what they're talking about. Campaign events that used to be held in high schools are now being held on Zoom and being promoted through TikTok. She proceeds to explain how field organizers are now designing Instagram flyers and using the hashtag #SettleForBiden, which now has gained over more than 50 million views. The change in campaign, while different, has proven to give in the edge to Joe Biden. In this quote by Johanna Dunaway and Doris A. Graber in Mass Media and American Politics, they state, "Campaigns capitalize on the digital reach of Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok, which have more recently gained popularity, especially among the young voters cohorts. All are different in features and format from Facebook and Twitter." This continues to explain the edge that social media was able to provide with the variety of posts and information and ways that information can be spread across platforms. And this graph shows us the annual digital and non-digital advertisement use in billions. As we can see, the digital advertisement use was on a constant incline, where then it rose rapidly at around 2017 and 2018, and then it was finally able to overcome non-digital, which then we can see that digital continues to go upwards looking forward into 2020, and non-digital continues to go downwards looking into 2020. My second claim is how the growth of digital activism due to social media has become one of its more popular uses on the platforms. This short video showed us a few of the very important Black Lives Matter protests that were going down during 2020 in our prime lockdown. 2020 saw some of the biggest growth with digital activism. Not only, since we were all in lockdown, many people had many information that they wanted to spread and talk about, but they weren't always able to explain this as their voices were going unheard. But social media has created a platform where digital activism is able to be profusely used and continue to grow. excuse me if I'm saying this wrong, but Fatih Matuzaro and Zainal Abidin Ahmad, and What If It Was You, Digital Activism on TikTok, indicate while TikTok is one of the social media platforms that is most frequently used for digital activism, up to 77% of its users said that they saw political and digital activism information, and 94% of its users explained how they saw Black Lives Matter protests and a lot of activism that had to do with Black Lives Matter. Not only does this relate to what I previously showed, the video on Black Lives Matter, but it can also be correlated to the graph. TikTok has always been on a steady incline, but during Q2 of 2020, which is prime lockdown where all this stuff was going down, you can see a small rise and a continued growth. With that, we can assume that digital activism will be able to continue growing as long as social medias are present. All right. This model shows digital activism and its process through Instagram. On the left, we have some possible issues and things that people would like to express on social media. Then, this is the post stage. After it's posted, hopefully it is able to reach its target audience, which not necessarily, but could be 18 to 35-year-old people, which then it goes around in the system and is able to be gaining its awareness, which then finally really qualifies it as digital activism. After all this awareness has been brought to it, we can then come to the solutions and how digital activism can help bring the solutions. My final claim is how social medias could possibly be controlling its users. The algorithm. What is a social media algorithm? An algorithm is a collection of guidelines and indicators that automatically filters content and material on social media websites for when a user is what a user will most likely engage with. How does it work? The algorithms factor a ton of different factors, which we can see here, depending on each social media website, to tailor content to the user's needs and what they will enjoy and what most likely will appeal to them. This can come back to my argument about how Joe Biden could have possibly been helped by these algorithms, as it helped him reach a wider audience and create a platform where he can share his content to people that will most likely enjoy it and can continue following him through his campaign. What do users think of the algorithm? Many people build trust with these algorithms and believe what they see on it is akin to them and is something that represents them. But, explains Kelly Cotter in For You Page We Trust. Going back to how algorithms work, content is constantly being filtered and curated to a user for viewers based on what they like and recently have engaged with. This creates the false sense of trust. In a way, social media companies, even if not directly, have control over what a viewer is seeing, which could have effects in the long run. My resolution. Social media has changed the US a lot in the past few years, not only for the better by expanding politics and freedom of speech, but a whole new wave of activism has changed in this digital environment. But it has also created the risk factors, as I previously stated, by the algorithm. Thank you. Any questions?
Two questions for you. First up, how did you select the strategies you use to gather the information for your research?
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah. How did you select how you were going to research, basically? And was it effective?
So, me as the teenager that I am, we all use social media on a daily basis all the time. So I thought, how can I incorporate this with a bigger problem? And I was researching into a lot of things since I lived through the pandemic. I researched into a lot of things that affected the pandemic and bigger areas in that sense.
Okay. And what might be real world implications of the findings that you have? And then how does that impact whatever your community, whatever you define community as?
Well, as I said previously, social media is used by everyone and it's not going away. So seeing how these effects have changed the US can just let us see a little bit more into the future and we can assume that it will continue improving the quality of life in the U.S.